innocence and your naivety take you in.
Moses, you told us on camera that you know many things. The viewers heard you say that.
Okay.
One of the things I'd like you to tell us is, how would you recognize a young boy or girl who has succumbed to the kind of pressure and is now using drugs?
Okay, there are very many ways of recognizing somebody who's taking drugs. And I could start with the physical. People who are taking drugs sometimes tend to leave some clues. Like, for example, if you chew miraa, for example, you might chew and you find that you get mouth ulcers, or you sometimes you leave some green stuff on the side of your...
Yuck.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I could look at you like this, maybe if you're taking something, and tell that you take this, because, for example, it will be something like miraa is the only thing that will leave you, you know, that I know of. Again, when you look at bang leaves you with red eyes. And sometimes, because people want to get the full effect from the dosage of the stick of bang they're smoking, they tend to smoke it to the last very small part of it. So they get their fingers burnt. And you know, you could be talking to somebody in class and sometimes they're gesturing to you, and if you look at the fingers, you could see some burn marks here and there. And that will, of course, tell you, even if they're not smoking bang, they're either playing with fire or they're smoking something else.
Okay.
Yeah. And
what about from a behavioral point of view? What kind of behaviors would you tell parents to look out for?
Okay. People taking drugs tend to change their interests. For example, a young person who had an ambition of maybe being a pilot or something, you will find that although you would have to observe to notice maybe, that they're not putting, say, effort to achieve that goal, or at some point they have forgotten what it is they have always wanted to achieve. Because sometimes young people do grow up saying, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a lawyer. You find that if you start taking drugs, it is very easy for you to lose sight of your goal, and for other things in your life to lose importance.
You talked about goals.
Yes.
What are your goals in life?
Well, apart from the many things that I wish to accomplish, I can say I want to be a journalist, top one.
A top journalist.
Top journalist.
Yes.
Which in the same line could lead me to be a diplomat and eventually a national leader.
A national leader.
Yes.
That comes from you having been a house captain, I presume.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. How do you want to go about it? What path do you see yourself following?
In terms of...
Of growing and becoming a diplomat and a national leader.
Well, of course, you need the education. Yeah. So I plan to join university, pursue international relations, journalism, on politics, gain the experience.
Okay. Goals. What are your goals?
I want to be in business. Not just any business, but big business.
Big business.
Yeah.
Tell us about big business. What do you really want to do?
I want to run businesses like, I don't know, things like Microsoft, big international
big business.
businesses.
How are you going to get into big business?
God knows. But
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
First step,
we would also like to know.
Yes, the first step, I think, will be to get an education. As I mentioned earlier, being in SCAD has exposed me to a lot of things. I have had an opportunity to mingle with some people in business, with some people in leadership here and there. And so that has created a desire in me also to achieve.
Viewers, you have heard it all from the two young men. You have heard of a program that they are running in their previous schools. You have heard of the difficulties that people experience having used drugs, I would like to leave you with the following words. If you have anything at all that you would like to share with us and fellow viewers about any area of your activities that you think might be useful to others, please do call us. This is your program, Frankly Speaking. Thank you. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to yet another program, Frankly Speaking. I have no doubt that many of you are now familiar with the form and format of our program. The thing that we like to emphasize each time we have this program is the fact that this is a program for and about you. It's a program in which we hope that as many of you viewers out there will be able to, in the course of time, participate by coming to our studio and talking to us on any subject you may wish to talk to us about, as long as you do so frankly. This is your program, Frankly Speaking. As we have said previously, we as human beings are sometimes under the misconception that psychological phenomena, mental illnesses, depression in particular, are diseases of weak people. Some of you perhaps do not know that the likes of Winston Churchill, the great British leader, Abraham Lincoln, twice President of the United States, both suffered from severe depressive illnesses. Isaac Newton, one of the most prominent scientists of all time. Julius Caesar, we all know, suffered from a depressive illness. The reality, of course, here is that any human being could suffer from a psychiatric or psychological illness. Now, popular demand has forced me to bring back an old friend and colleague, Dr. Sam Gatere, to talk to us a little bit more frankly again on our program. Sam, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Frank.
It is popular demand. You have no choice. Now, Sam, we in a previous program, that really is the reason that you've come here, you did tell us quite a lot about yourself, your upbringing in Nyeri, your zigzag trail to getting you into one of the highest institutions of learning. And you did, in fact, tell us one or two things about your career as a taxi driver. As a taxi owner, I'm sorry. Now, Sam, what we didn't get to hear you tell us was about your family, your children, your wife, and so on. Is there anything you'd like to share with us, frankly, about your family?
I'm married, and therefore I'm a father and a grandfather, father of 5, the grandfather of 6 children. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, I've been married more than once. The first got married many years ago in the 50s, and within 10 months of marriage, my wife died in childbirth, and leaving me a daughter. And 2 years later, I got married, my second wife, who then became the mother of the new daughter. Before she had her own biological children, and later had her own biological children, so that we had 5 children. We lived together for 32 years with my wife number 2, who then died 8 years ago, next week, Monday. We are celebrating her memorial at Mutero PCA Church, and you are invited, Frank, in the morning with her children, grandchildren, and friends and relatives, as we remember that great woman who died 8 years ago. Last year, April 15th, I got married yet again to my third wife, one Stella Kimani, who was a military officer and now retired, and she's now my current wife. And the two of us are living in Karen, and we thank God that again we've come together. With her, we have a son who was there before we got married, but we've adopted him as our son. A very nice young man who is working for me in my office right now in Post Bank House. And so that's the family.
Viewers, isn't that an interesting, moving story of a man married now 3 times, but currently with one wife? The thing that
Always with one wife.
Always with one wife.
Never with 2.
Never with 2, but 3 times. Okay, Sam, what comes to my mind when you talk about your family in this sort of way, and this perhaps exposes my bias as a mental health worker, is how have you coped with bereavement twice?
I think I must really here give glory to God, because my faith has carried me through more than anything else, quite apart even from my training in psychiatry. But my faith has been a great source of encouragement as I trust in God and pray and accept God's will rather than fight it. This has been helpful to me. Secondly, when I was in Australia studying psychiatry and mental health, psychiatry there at the University of Sydney, one of the things we did and we were taught there is never to abort mourning. If you are bereaved, mourn your wife properly. When tears come, cry. If you have to yell, so long as you don't frighten anybody like children or something else. But do not shy away from expressing grief and mourning and discussing it openly so that you may heal. If you abort it, then you are going to suffer from problems because of aborted mourning. I think dealing with it and accepting it has helped me. And then ask God, what do I do with me now?
Sam, I'm going to push you a little if you let me, because there might be, I was going to say there must be, there might be a difference between the mourning for a wife that you've been married to for 10 months as opposed to one you've been married to for 33 years. Just, am I imagining things, or is that really true?
That is very true, because as you live with your wife, where there is love between you and your wife, and love between husband and wife must not be assumed, any more than friendship also must be assumed. You must ensure you're friends, you must ensure you're in love. Don't assume it because you were pronounced husband and wife. You must work out your friendship and sustain your love with fear and trembling between the two of you. Where that is the case, you make each other you mold each other physically, and you find that after 15 years of marriage, you begin to look alike. And if you see many couples, after 15 years of marriage, 15, 18, 20, many people ask them, are you brother and sister? You ask why? But you look so much alike, because the contours are forming together. When you smile, you smile together. When you form together eventually the contours of the face and other things. Even the gait tattoos resemble, not to mention other mannerisms such as speaking and the facial features and so on. Secondly, you get to believe these similar things about the world. You have a similar worldview. And remember the French folie à phenomenon we have in shared delusion. Well, the belief may not be a delusion, but you do share many things which you believe passionately with your wife, so that again this shifts you. And you'll find that as you go along, you mold each other, and you are diffused like gaseous diffusion from the two to become one functionally and in terms of emotions. And even to a point where, when you are thinking, she is thinking exactly the same thing, same time, same day.
Sam, I told you I was going to push you, because you see, you're many things. You're a Christian, you're a psychiatrist, and some will say even a philosopher. But the point is, you're in a very unusual situation, Sam, of having been bereaved twice. Qualitatively, in terms of what is the difference between bereavement at an early age and in later life, if any? I mean, there may not be.
I think at an early age, one has the youth on your side. And the youth gives you hope for life, even though that hope may not always be realistic, but it is there. I think on the basis of, reason, youth tells you that there is life for you ahead. And so bereavement that time is easier to cope with, because you feel that, yes, I can get married again, and life will continue. When you are bereaved, after you have been with your wife for many years, like I've said, and you have molded each other, like I was saying earlier, and you become one in that very, very true sense, so that even in telepathy you communicate and so on, the loss is great, very great. For part of you in reality has gone. Part of you in reality is not academic anymore. Part of you is gone. And it is very, very difficult to fill in that loss easily. So even me, it took me 7 years before I could get married again. And I don't even think that I was going to be married again. It had to take the grace of God to persuade me that my life is not over, and I need to continue serving God, and I need a partner to work with. The loss when you are older is much, much greater, and more devastating.
There must be something else, additional, that has seen you through these difficult times. What may that be?
I think I have always believed in myself, and I ask God to help me to believe in myself. I am a man of hope. I feel that God has given man a lot of potential to be exploited and to be used properly. I don't therefore give up easily. I feel that life has challenges, and many of these disasters come to me as a challenge to try and make good the next move. I think I see it as an experience. When I see as an experience as a learning process rather than feel miserable, I say, what do I learn from that to help me in the next move? But I feel that I must have faith in myself, faith in my God, and continue to serve him by serving his fellow men. That has also carried me through.
One of the things that we have discussed in professional gatherings and so on, is the popular view, no, not popular view, the popular misconception that psychiatrists and mental health workers are not like real human beings. They don't go through the same thoughts and feelings and processes that other human beings go through. Now, you're a psychiatrist. You've been through this bereavement situations. To what extent has that helped you or not helped you in the way you look at and manage people in similar situations?
I did not think that I could weep tears until my late wife Naomi died, and then I saw myself shedding tears. And I had already taught the beauty of having tears, if that's the way you feel, and told people that I was teaching that I myself cannot cry, until I was proved wrong when I actually shed tears when my wife died. Yes, we are touched like everybody else, and because of that, we are able to empathize, we are able to feel with our patients when they are going through problems. And that makes a big difference between the practice of psychiatry and the rest of medicine. It's not like removing an appendix. It's not like, say, treating pneumonia, and that's the end of the story. When a person shares their heart with you, they shares their anxieties with you, you as a human being, you are touched by this, and as you treat them and you feel with them their pain, this contributes towards healing for your patients. So our patients heal because they see us as human beings rather than as just taking chance.
You seem to describe a 7-year, perhaps a little less than that, period in time when you went through a formal mourning, if you like. Carry us through the stages, if you will, of what you went through or other people go through.
I think the first thing that I went through really is denial. I did not want to believe it has happened. So I put a brave face that it has not happened. It cannot have happened. And I refused to part with, say, my wife's clothing or remove a box where it was. I wanted everything left exactly as it was. This was denial of the fact that he is gone, and I better accept that fact and rearrange things to cater for a new organization in my life. So I went through a long period of denial. This was followed by anger. I was angry at God. I said, why me all the time? There are other men you could have gone to. You don't have to come to me twice over. What have I done? Do you consider me unworthy of being a husband to a lady, or what? So I went through that quarrel and anger. Anger at myself. What did I do wrong? Where did I? And so self-blame, anger at God and at myself, and so on. And also feeling that maybe self-blame, maybe there was something wrong with me, and that's why I was deemed unfit to be husband to a wife. We go through all this, and then through that denial and the feeling that you have no feelings at all, my brethren in Christ would come to pray with me, and I told them, pray about everything else, but don't you dare pray that I have another wife. So I even stopped them, and I remember one politician in this country who told people not to pray for him. I came very close to that, but they told me, we don't need your permission to pray for you. So they continued to pray, and so on. So I went through all that, and then time came when I began to heal from that anger, that denial, to accept reality, and to accept really my wife has gone, and I should not stay with a corpse in terms of clothing and arrangement in my house. I better accept the fact and now say, yes, release her to God so that I can now live once again. But if I don't do that, I'll live with death in my house, even though the person is gone. It's possible for you to bury the dead, but live with death. You don't want to do that. For that paralyzes you and you cannot function.
There is now Stella in your life. Tell us about Stella.
She is a wonderful woman and a gift from God, I must say. She's a highly experienced woman. She's a Christian like me, saved in her mature years, which is good. Having gone through her training, and she's trained in many areas. She started her training as a secretary after her high school education, and then after qualifying as a secretary and working for some time, she decided to be a teacher. She went to Kenyatta College, then the current Kenyatta University, to treat as a teacher, a secondary school teacher. She finished that, and then she came to teach as a secondary school teacher. In the meantime, she heard that the government were trying to recruit girls into the military, and she applied, and she was in the first intake of what they used to call in those days beret girls, the first class of women to enter the military in this country. She was in that class, and she went through the ranks, and also training as an officer. While in the military, she also trained in parachuting, and she was the first parachute woman in this country, and she has 18 jumps to her credit.
I'm going to make you jump. Sam, you really sound like a man whose life has been changed very dramatically by the recent events of getting married. How has your life changed since you got married last year?
I'm a new man.
I think you're all the way. Can you explain what you mean by that, Sam?
I mean that because even my skin looks younger, my mind is more agile,